I still remember the exact moment everything changed. Not because someone yelled, not because there was some dramatic scene, because betrayal rarely arrives loudly. Sometimes it walks into a room like it belongs there. I came home that afternoon expecting nothing unusual. Just another long day, another shift completed, another small step toward a dream I'd spent years building. I walked into my room and immediately noticed something felt wrong. The safe under my desk was slightly open, just enough for my stomach to drop. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe I forgot to lock it. Maybe I was tired. Maybe. Then Dad walked into the doorway, calm, casual, holding an envelope I recognized instantly. My envelope. The one with every dollar I'd spent 2 years earning. He looked at me and said words I don't think I'll ever forget. I gave it to your sister. Silence. Complete silence. Because some moments hit so hard your brain refuses to process them. I stared at him, then at the envelope, then back at him. I don't understand. He sighed like I was making things complicated. Her business needs help. He shrugged. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Funny how people say that when they're spending something that isn't theirs. My name is Alina West, and if this sounds like a story about money, it isn't. It's about what happens when the people you trust most decide your dreams can wait. For 2 years, I had worked nonstop. Scholarships covered part of school, not all of it. So I worked evenings, weekends, late nights. I tutored students, picked up extra shifts, designed graphics online until my eyes burned. I skipped vacations, skipped dinners out, skipped almost everything. Every dollar had a purpose. I wasn't just saving money, I was saving freedom. I wanted to walk into graduate school without carrying fear on my shoulders, and Dad knew that. He knew every detail. He'd seen my acceptance letters. He'd watched me work. Still, he chose differently. Before I could say anything else, another voice came from behind us. Where's the fund I trusted you with? Grandpa. He stood in the hallway holding his cane, looking directly at Dad. His face didn't show anger. That was somehow worse. Dad looked pale. Really pale. Because suddenly this wasn't only about me anymore. Years earlier, Grandpa had quietly set aside money for my education too. Money he'd trusted Dad to protect. And now pieces started falling together. Dad hadn't just crossed a line, he had moved it entirely. Mom walked in a few seconds later, looked around, felt the tension immediately. What happened? Grandpa looked at her. Did you know? She didn't answer, and silence answers a lot of questions. In that moment, something inside me shifted. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. Because suddenly, years of little moments made sense. Every time I was told, be patient. Let your sister have this. Don't make things difficult. Every sacrifice had quietly become expected. I wasn't being asked anymore. I was being volunteered. That night, I didn't argue, didn't yell, didn't slam doors. I sat in my room staring at old photos instead. Because sometimes disappointment hurts more when it's familiar. The next morning, Grandpa sat in the sunroom with coffee and old paperwork spread around him. I sat beside him quietly. After a while, he looked at me. You never asked anyone for anything. I looked down, because he was right. I had spent years trying to prove I deserved things through effort, as if achievement could earn love. As if independence could guarantee fairness. He leaned back. You know what your problem is? I raised an eyebrow. You've spent your whole life thinking strength means carrying everything alone. That stayed with me, because maybe he was right. Over the next few days, I gathered documents, bank records, work receipts, scholarship forms, screenshots. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted truth. There's a difference. Around the same time, my sister invited me to visit her new studio. I almost didn't go, but I did. The space looked beautiful, Fresh paint, warm lights, shelves lined with candles and carefully arranged displays. She smiled when I walked in. "What do you think?" I looked around slowly. "It looks nice," she grinned. "I worked really hard for this." The words sat between us for a moment. Then I asked softly, "Did you know where the money came from?" Her smile disappeared. Not completely, just enough. She looked away, and in that second, I understood something important. She wasn't cruel. She just never questioned who was carrying the cost. Some people grow up receiving support so naturally that they stop asking where it comes from. I didn't stay long. As I left, I realized I wasn't angry at her. Not entirely. I was grieving the version of family I thought I had. Weeks passed, then something unexpected happened. Grandpa shared my story with a university donor board, not the dramatic version, just the truth. A student who worked hard, who refused to quit, who kept showing up. Days later, I opened my email and stared at the screen. I read it once, then twice, then 5 more times. Full tuition scholarship, every expense covered. I sat there frozen, then cried. Not because of the scholarship, because for the first time in a long time, I felt seen, really seen. I called Grandpa immediately. "I got it." My voice cracked. He laughed softly. "I know. You know? You've been earning it long before anyone noticed." Months later, I packed for school, clothes, books, photos, dreams. I packed lighter than I expected, because somewhere along the way, I'd stopped carrying resentment. I still loved my family. Love doesn't disappear overnight, but I stopped carrying responsibility for choices that weren't mine. At the airport, Grandpa drove me in silence. Then before I got out, he said, "You were never meant to stay small just to make everyone else comfortable." I hugged him tightly. Inside the terminal, my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. "We'll always be your family." I looked at it for a moment, then smiled. Because family isn't only about who raised you. Sometimes it's about who sees you, who believes in you, who reminds you who you are when you've forgotten. As the plane lifted into the sky, I looked out the window. Everything below grew smaller. The house, the memories, the expectations, all of it. And strangely, I didn't feel angry. I felt peaceful. Because I finally understood something. People can take money. They can take opportunities. They can even take things you worked hard for. But they cannot take your ability to begin again. Months later, I walked across campus carrying books under one arm and coffee in the other. Students rushed around me laughing and talking about futures that hadn't happened yet. And for the first time in years, mine felt entirely my own. I still keep one candle from my sister's old shop, not out of bitterness, as a reminder. Wax softens under heat, but some people don't melt. Some people become stronger. And looking back now, I realize something. I didn't lose my future that day. I found it. Because sometimes life closes a safe, so it can open a door.